work laptop right here, and on here I am running my own Claude instance, and I am working on a huge project. Then I have Claude running here, Claude Code, and then we have Claude here running on trying to figure out how to do content, right? So one thing that I want to build for myself, and I think this is something that you guys should do if you're trying to, get ahead, build and improve yourself, and all that kind of stuff, right? Context is everything. I think find a couple of videos, find people that you look up to or that you at least draw inspiration from, right? Or you want to be like. You don't necessarily, need to be crazy or anything, but about them. But you can go ahead and just prompt. For example, I started this whole entire thread on how I can make successful TikToks. And again, the reason why I'm doing this is I'm trying to organize myself, because right now, at the end of the day, you don't have to do all this. You just start posting about what are you going to post about? There needs to be a certain level of plan, and I'm trying to really drill that down to make good content, not only for just in general for myself, but just for you guys, so people can get value out of it, right? So every single thing that I think when you put content out, is it entertaining or is somebody getting value out of it? If those two things are not, and if it's entertaining, they would automatically get value out of it. But let's say if it's informational or anything like that, it's good enough, right? That's content people will watch. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how to create my own little brain dump of everything. I want this organized. Let me take this. It's getting hot. I am going to go ahead and there's just so much going on. I'm watching this. I wish I should show you guys what I'm working on here. It's so freaking cool. But I can't for work, but even this stuff for Market Hustle is super sick. But I don't have enough data. It's interesting to work with a lot of data and map those relationships, because there's a different level of memories when it comes to Claude Code or any LLM or any sort of agent that you're building. Context is everything, right? How are you pulling in context? Is it .md files, right? That's one, obviously. Any sort of skill files or anything like that, but then you add in the database, right? You add in a database, and then you add in relationships. That's another whole part of memory, because you have to map everything, right? It just depends on what you're working on. So for work, obviously there's a lot of data. There's data going back 10 years. Maybe you don't need all of that, and there's relationships, who worked on this, who worked on that, which employee did this, who built this out. There's relationships, right? Which what are most open tickets, who opened up a lot of these tickets. So there's these relationships. When you're working on your personal projects, you don't have to worry about databases too much. Everything could just be a .md file that you can store in Obsidian or anything like that. But all that to say, there's just a lot going on, right? And for me, I like to learn about everything, and it is a lot. It's almost just a knowledge transfer constantly back and forth between AI and me, and I feel that's how people work nowadays. So one thing I want to get a little bit better about is embeddings. I want to learn a little bit more about just what the best embeddings and vector databases and all that kind of stuff is. It's something I'm doing for work, and I think it's do more with limit through. I didn't even know this. All right, so let's just ask Claude, what is the learn? I never actually clicked on the learn thing. Let me do this. Can you go ahead and create a visualization on what vector embeddings are and how important they are for kind of just storage when it comes to context, when it comes to building out an agent, right? So I'm working on an agent for work. I'm building one for my personal stuff. The LLM doesn't matter, but the whole point is I want to really get familiarize myself with the database and how vector embeddings work, right? What's the best algorithm right now? What's the easiest way to do it? I know at the end of the day, vector databases are just turning something into numerical values, so it's easier to search based on that, right? It's semantic search versus actual direct text search, right? So it's there's a difference. One, you might be looking for a keyword that just matches exactly, right? So if you search up for the color blue, right? Search up good. That's just exactly word for word matching. There's only one match, but the other match of this is how similar things are. So like, so for another word for write is like, what's another word for write? Jot down, right? If somebody was to type the word jot down, it would associate that with write, right? It would have a similar, number. And then when you actually vectorize everything, and then when the data is doing like the whole semantic search, it would be like, oh, jot down and write are very similar, right? And then it would surface those kind of things, and that's also important. So all that to say, can you just help me realize or just understand the differences, all this at a low level, right? Not just at a high level, but organize this in a really nice HTML document for me to understand and learn. And yeah, let's build on this. I want to know the different layers of memory and context when it comes to building out agents, and just how the entire AI space is moving right now, right? So make sure everything that you're giving me is up to date. Check Claude Code change logs, check Codex change logs, check how Hermes Agents is working, check how Obsidian does their stuff, and check how Supabase and all these other platforms and stuff, where is the industry moving towards, and how embeddings work, what's the best algorithm, how well and efficient, how powerful these models are, and yeah, give it to me in an ingestible, easy way for me to understand everything. Okay, so let's see what it ends up coming up with this. Obviously I can do a whole research doc, but I just want to kind of come up with a good HTML doc. And what I want to do is, like, these are kind of the stuff that you have to do to understand and research and just learn about AI. It's just be curious, right? Look at all these things that it's pulling, and it'll give me a nice little HTML document. But it would be nice, what I do want to create is a brain dump of myself, like my own personal agent. Obviously Claude here can do that within the chat itself, but I haven't gotten to the point of creating a Hermes agent or that, because I just didn't see really a huge need for it right now. Obviously everyone's trying to create one, but like, unless you're really building out something and really need to organize, if you just need to create like content and you just have something simple, Claude on the web just does a great job of organizing your project. You can give it context, you can give it documents. You don't need a whole personal agent to do all that, right? Personal agents like Hermes and all that stuff kind of comes in when you're doing a lot of different things at once, right? Like, I'm building a startup, I'm trying to do content, I'm also doing my work stuff and understanding AI. And then let's say you throw in another thing in the mix, like you're trying to do another job, or there's just, when you have a lot of stuff like that going on, maybe it makes sense to do all that. But if you're just like, hey, I just want to start posting content, and if you just want to organize stuff, like, just use Claude. I mean, it's simple. Or use ChatGPT's projects or anything. You don't need to get into the point of overcomplicating things and just creating a whole agent that's just going to read back to you what Claude would read back to you here if you gave it the same memory, right? At the end of the day, what is an agent? An agent's just a smart thing that you build based off of context and skill files. It's nothing more than that. So, like, why overcomplicate it if you don't need to? I don't know. Why does everyone need OpenClaw? They don't. What are you guys building out? I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, so I have this running. Let's see what this comes up with, and then I'll come back to